My name is Gloria May Thompson. I'm 70 years old.
And today,
I came to tell the truth. It hurts, but I have to let it out. I'm sitting here on this old wooden chair my father built a long time ago. The wood is worn down, just like me. The wind is blowing harder than usual through the trees, and the sun is already starting to slip away. It's late afternoon, my favorite time of day. Always has been. But today feels different. It's been a week since my son got married. And me? I didn't go. It's not that I missed the invitation. It's not that I couldn't make it. He told me not to. Word for word, he said. It's better if you don't come, Mom. It'll be complicated. Complicated for who? I found him before he even knew what the world was. Wrapped in a filthy blanket, tossed behind the market. In the trash. I was coming home from work. Exhausted. My feet were throbbing, and the heat was sticking to my skin. When I passed by the dumpster, I heard a faint noise, like a kitten. I looked again. There was a torn-up cardboard box, and inside a baby. A white baby. Newborn. Eyes shut tight, lips turning blue from crying so hard. I froze. Then I picked him up. His skin was ice cold. He was fading. In that moment, I didn't think twice. I held him tight to my chest and ran. Straight to the hospital. I waited for hours. Pacing, praying, heart pounding. Once he was stable, the questions came. Did I know the mother? Was I family? Did I want to leave him there? I said, I want to take him home. And that's when the second battle began. Weeks of court hearings. Signing papers, answering questions, proving I could raise him. One judge even asked, why would you want to adopt a baby who's not related to you? Especially a white baby. And with tears in my eyes, I answered, because someone threw him away. But I saw worth in him. It took nearly a year. And all that time, I was already being a mother, even without the papers. Baths. Bottles bought with cleaning job money. Doctor visits. Midnight crying. Love. When the official custody finally came through, I cried so hard, I couldn't even sign at first. My hands were shaking. On that cold piece of paper was written what my heart had been screaming all along. I was his mother. I raised that boy like he came from my own body. And now he banned me from the most important day of his life. Because I'm black. Because I don't look like him. Because maybe I remind him of something he wants to forget. That hurts more than anything I've ever been through. And the worst part isn't being forgotten. It's being denied. As if I'm just the woman who picked him up from the trash. Not the one who pulled him back from the edge and held him close. But today I had to speak. Because holding this pain in is killing me slowly. And I know there are other Glorias out there who loved deeply and were left behind. And if nobody wants to hear it, at least I hope God is listening. Because the truth needs to be told. Even if it's now, at the end of the road. He didn't cry like other babies. His cry was tired. Like he'd already learned no one was coming. That first night at home, he slept in a makeshift crib. With an old pillow and blanket.
But he slept pressed against my chest.
Breathing slow. Almost silent. Like he was afraid to be noticed. I'd stroke his cheek and sing soft lullabies. Not to make him sleep, but so he'd know someone was there. That went on for weeks. His milk came from whatever was left after cleaning jobs. Sometimes there was nothing left at all. So I'd boil water, stir in oats and a bit of sugar, and feed him with a spoon. And he took it all without complaint. His first fever was like a trial by fire. 3 days burning up. Crowded hospitals. Impatient doctors. But I never left his side. I cooled his forehead with wet cloths. Stayed up all night. Held his tiny hand and prayed. And when he finally got better, I thanked God like I was being given my son a second time. The neighbors used to whisper. Some looked at me like I had stolen him. She probably took him in for some kind of benefit. Poor woman, she'll get attached and then they'll take him away. But no one understood. No one knew what it felt like to look at that dirty, freezing baby and feel your heart race in a way it never had before. No one knew that even without giving birth, I felt labor pains deep in my chest. Because when you love someone for real, it hurts just the same. He started to grow, and with him grew my care, my fears, my surrender. He learned to walk on the carpet in our tiny living room, said "Mama," while looking me straight in the eyes. He was scared of thunder and couldn't sleep unless my hand was resting on his belly. I gave everything, even when I had nothing. I worked in 3 different houses.
Washed, cooked, scrubbed.
Came home with swollen feet and a tired soul, but the moment I saw him in his crib, sleeping with his mouth slightly open and the blanket all twisted, it was all worth it. The differences were obvious. He was white, I was black. But love was the same shade. One day at the bus stop, a woman came up and asked, "Is that your grandson?" I replied, "No, he's my son." She chuckled awkwardly. "Really? Really? But he's so light. And he's mine." That conversation followed me for years, but it never made me doubt. He was mine. I taught him to respect those who are different, to be proud of our home, to know where he came from, and he seemed to get it. He called me Mom with pride, drew pictures of us together for school, told me my hug was the best in the world. I truly believed nothing could erase that. But the world can be cruel, and sometimes the ones we love most are the ones who hurt us the deepest. I was never able to have biological children. My womb was barren. That's how God made me. Years of trying, teas, prayers, old remedies. Every test said the same thing. I was healthy, but my body couldn't give life. At first, I cried, felt like less of a woman, blamed myself for not giving my husband the child he dreamed of. But Henry, my husband, always said, if God doesn't give us a child by blood, He'll give us one another way. And He did. But before that, we grieved the loss of the child we never met. Each month brought hope. Every delay, a new anxiety. And every no, another wound. I watched the women in our neighborhood, with their growing bellies, baby showers, neighbors clapping at their door.
And me?
I just clutched my bedsheets at night and swallowed my tears. Told myself one day I'd understand, because God's will may hurt, but it's never cruel. When I found that baby in the trash, I understood. That child didn't come from inside me, but he was planted on my path with purpose. You don't need to carry a child to be a mother. You just need to love. And I loved. But the world doesn't always understand that kind of love. The kind that defies logic, that crosses skin color, that sees past what people expect. From the start, people found it strange. A black woman holding a white baby? Is he your grandson? Is he your boss's kid? Are you just babysitting? No one ever imagined I was his mother, because to the world, a mother and child are supposed to look alike. But a real mother, she's the one who stays. The one who cleans up vomit, changes diapers, loses sleep, prays for healing. The one who teaches, disciplines, protects, defends. The one who loves, even without thanks. And I did all of that. I raised that boy in a small home, but one full of dignity. He slept in a bed with fresh sheets and woke up to the smell of warm bread. In the kitchen, his photo hung on the wall, in a cheap frame I bought at the street market. He was the center of the house, the center of my life. As he got older, so did the questions. At school, he started noticing, Mom, why is our skin different? Because God loves variety, son. If everything looked the same, the world would be boring.
He accepted that.
In his own way, but sometimes I'd catch a flicker of confusion in his eyes. One day, he came home quieter than usual. He was 8, sat on the couch, fiddling with his shoelaces. Then he said, "Tell me I'm your son, Mom, even if I'm white."
It broke me.
because I never imagined he could ever doubt that. I pulled him into my arms, held him tight, like he was still that baby wrapped in a blanket. And I said, "You are mine. You are. And nothing in this world can change that." He cried softly, and so did I. That day, I realized that skin color wasn't just a detail. It was an invisible wall the world was quietly building between us. And no matter how much I said love was stronger, people kept reminding us of the difference. On the street, at the mall, at birthday parties, someone would always ask, "Are you the nanny? Who are you taking care of?" And every time I said, "He's my son," it felt like I had to prove it. Like being a black woman loving a white child was somehow unbelievable, unacceptable, almost wrong. But inside our home, I tried to shield him. I made sure he knew our family was real, even if we didn't look like everyone else's. I showed him pictures, told stories, reminded him of how hard I fought to become his mother. He'd listen closely, and he'd smile, but the outside world, it shouted louder than my voice. There was one time, he must have been around 12. We were in a store. A saleswoman walked over and asked, "Are you here with your grandma?" He looked at me and stayed silent. I answered for him calmly, "I'm his mother." The woman laughed awkwardly and said, "Oh, sorry, but what hurt most that day wasn't what she said. It was his silence." He didn't correct her, didn't stand up for me. He just lowered his head. That night, I cried in the bathroom, with the shower running, because even the strongest ones need a place to fall apart. But I kept going.
Strong. Present.
A mother. To me, motherhood was never about resemblance. It was about staying, even when it hurt, even when the world said it didn't make sense. Because a mother's love is like a root. Even buried, it still holds everything above. And I was the root, the trunk, the shade, the ground. For him. But maybe, to him, that stopped mattering. Adolescence came like a storm. At first, I didn't notice. I thought it was just a phase. Those long silences, eyes glued to a phone screen, one-word answers. Okay. Later. But soon I realized it was more. He started going out more. Insisted on walking to school alone, even though it was just 2 blocks away. Said I didn't need to pick him up, he could handle it. At first, I respected it. I was even proud. But little by little, I began to see what he really wanted. Distance. One day, the school planned a Mother's Day event. The kids were asked to bring a photo of their mom for a mural. I waited for him to ask for help picking one, like he did every year. But he didn't say a word. The night before, I checked his notebook. The teacher's note was there, asking for the picture. I went to him and asked, "Do you want me to pick out a photo of us?" He stayed quiet for a while, then answered, "It's okay, Mom. I'll go without a photo." I felt my stomach turn cold. I pressed on, "Why, baby? We have so many beautiful photos together." And with his head down, barely whispering, he said, "It's just people might think it's weird." Those words cut deeper than anything I had ever heard. Weird? Weird because of what? The color of my skin? Because a black woman was the mother of a white boy? I sat right there on the living room couch and just looked at him. He wouldn't look back. He simply said, "It's not a big deal. I just don't want to cause confusion." Confusion. That word echoed in my mind the whole night. I cried quietly in the kitchen, making sure he wouldn't hear. And for the first time, I felt ashamed of my pain. Me, the one who pulled him out of the trash. Me who faced the courts, racism, and poverty. Now reduced to a confusion. After that day, more things changed. He started calling me Gloria around his friends. Never, Mom. Never, Mama. At first, I pretended not to notice. Told myself, maybe he was just embarrassed by my age. By my simple clothes, my worn-out shoes. But it wasn't that. It was the color. It was me. One day at the mall, We ran into some of his friends. I smiled and reached out my hand like I always did. He stepped forward, almost like he was trying to block me from view. Then he said, "This is Gloria. She took care of me when I was little." Took care of me when I was little. In that moment, he erased me. I wasn't his mother anymore. I was just someone who looked after him. Like a nanny, a family friend, a favor. I came home with a lump in my throat, but I didn't say a word. I made dinner, set the table, waited for him to eat, and when he sat down, I served his plate with the same care I always had. Because a mother's love doesn't disappear with rejection, but it hurts. God, it hurts. I started skipping school events. He always said I didn't need to come, and I, tired of feeling like a burden, agreed. One night, I went into his room to drop off some folded clothes. The door was slightly open. He was on the phone with someone. I heard him say, "Yeah, she's nice, but she's not my biological mom. We don't look alike. It's kind of hard to explain, you know?" I gently closed the door, left the clothes on his chair, and walked away in silence. Deep down, I had always known this might happen. I couldn't protect him forever. The world demands appearances. It demands explanations. It demands logic. And to others, we were never logical. But it still hurt. It hurt to see him trying to hide me. It hurt to realize that what I had given him no longer fit the image he wanted to present to the world. I kept trying to talk to him, asked how he was feeling, offered affection, but he pushed away, kindly yet coldly. And when I told him I loved him, he'd just smile and say,
"I know, Gloria. Gloria, not Mom."
"Not anymore." I started saving the little drawings he made as a child, the ones with us holding hands, him white, me black. I put them in an envelope and wrote on the back, "Just so I can remember." I flipped through old photos, held his first toys, that tiny baby shoe I'd kept for 30 years. And I wondered, where did he drift away from me? Maybe it didn't happen all at once. Maybe it was piece by piece. With every strange look on the street, with every new friend, with every comparison, with every bit of shame he couldn't bring himself to say out loud. The color of motherhood was invisible to him because he didn't see the love, only the reflection. And the reflection didn't match the image he wanted the world to see. But I kept being a mother, even without the name, even without the place. Because when you love a child, you love them, even when they no longer want to be loved by you. I always hoped to hear just one thank you. Just one. It didn't have to come in a pretty card or in some emotional speech. Just a simple, "Thank you, Mom, for loving me when no one else would." But it never came. There were gifts. There were birthday messages sometimes. "Best wishes, Gloria."
Dry. Cold.
Like I was some distant acquaintance. Like we didn't have a whole history carved into our bones. There was a time he started working, got a job at an office. He called me and said, "I got it. I'm happy." I celebrated like it was my own victory. I baked a cake, even though he wasn't coming. I lit the candles, knowing I'd be blowing them out alone. And I did, asking God to help him remember one day everything we'd been through together. A week later, I saw a bank transfer. $200. No note. No message. It just appeared. And right then, my heart sank. It felt like he was trying to repay a debt I never asked for. Like he thought money could patch up absence. But what I wanted was him. Him, with the same sweet eyes he had as a child. Him running around the house shouting, "Mommy, look at this." Him showing me his drawings. Him hugging me at the school gate. But he faded away. Not all at once. Slowly. Like he was erasing his footprints, so no one could trace them back. When he moved to another city, he didn't tell me. I heard it from someone else. They said, "Your son lives out of town now, right?" And surprised, all I could say was, "Yeah, I guess he does." I called him that same day. He answered, his voice distracted. Oh yeah, I meant to tell you. Last minute decision. I'm just trying to build a better life. I meant to tell you, but he didn't. Because I wasn't someone you told anymore. I had become the chapter from childhood. He preferred to leave closed. Maybe out of shame. Maybe afraid of what others would think. Maybe because for him it was easier to pretend. He came from nowhere. No roots. No story. I started writing letters to him. Not letters asking for anything. Letters reminding him. Do you remember when we hid from the rain under the bakery awning and you said you'd protect me forever? Remember when you had a fever and I slept on the hospital floor with you in my arms? Remember when you called me mommy for the first time and I cried alone in the bathroom from joy? I never sent them. They're all kept in a box in my room. My box of silences. One day, I wrote a short post on Facebook, just a memory from when he was little. Something sweet. I posted an old photo of us. A few minutes later,
He messaged me.
can you take that down? It looks kinda weird to people.
Weird. Me.
His mother.
Weird.
I took it down. No argument. No reply. But that request. It stung like a slap. Because to him, now I was something to be hidden. Something out of place. An interference. And you know what's most cruel? It's that I never asked for applause. Never asked for a statue. All I wanted was to be acknowledged. Just to hear him say, Mom, thank you for staying.
Because I did stay.
I stayed when he cried without knowing why. I stayed when he pushed me away with words. I stayed when he needed food, clothes, love. I stayed when the world told me I wasn't a mother. I stayed all the way until now. And all I got in return was silence. The kind of abandonment that doesn't shout, but shows up in absence. Polite.
Disguised.
But still absence. He started calling another woman mom in public. His biological mother. The one who left him in the trash. I found out she came back years later, and they tried to reconnect. He posted pictures with her, with sweet captions. My mom. My origin. My origin. And me? What was I? Was I just the space between abandonment and discovery? The bridge between the beginning and the reunion? The temporary shoulder? If I was, then so be it. But no one can ever take from me what I really was. A mother when no one else wanted to be. A presence when all he was cries and emptiness. Love when he was rejection wrapped in flesh. The words I waited for never came. Not on my birthday. Not at Christmas. Not on Mother's Day. But you know what? Even without hearing a word back, I kept speaking. I spoke inside. In my prayers. In my gestures. In the way I cared for the memories. In the way I kept cleaning the house he doesn't visit anymore. Because love doesn't go silent just because it isn't returned. Real love keeps going. Even when there's nothing coming back. My husband passed away last year. After 42 years of marriage. 42 years of struggle. Of silence. Of sharing. Of faith. And now, I feel more alone than ever. That week, it felt like everything came crashing down at once. Henry had been getting sicker slowly, with quiet dignity. He never complained.
Always said it was just fatigue.
But his body kept giving out, little by little, like a train slowing down until it stops. In those last days, he would sit here on this same porch, hold my hand, and stare off into nothing. One day, he looked at me with tears in his eyes and asked, "Do you think he'll come see me before I go?"
He, the boy we raised,
the one we pulled from the trash and held close to our hearts. The son who wasn't born from us, but belonged to us just the same. He didn't come. Not when he heard his father was in the hospital. Not when I sent the message saying it was serious. Not even when I told him Henry had passed. He didn't show up to the funeral.
he didn't call.
He didn't send flowers. He only sent money. A deposit. $1,000. With a message. To help with expenses. Let me know if you need more. I sent it back. I never needed his money.
It was never about that.
He lived and ate in our house until he was 18. He slept on a new mattress, drank milk even when I had to skip my own medicine, wore the nice clothes he liked, name brand sneakers, graphic t-shirts, a tablet we paid off in 10 installments. We paid for school, computer courses, foreign language tutors. All out of love. Love from people who just wanted to see their son succeed, even if it meant we stayed behind. And now, all he offers is money, as if that fills the absence, as if that erases the emptiness. At Henry's 7th-day memorial service, the church was full. Simple folks, old friends, neighbors. But the pew next to mine was empty. That was his seat, the seat of our son. And when people asked why he didn't come, I said he was traveling, said he couldn't get a flight.
A lie.
He just didn't want to come. He was ashamed. Ashamed of our home, of our neighborhood, of our skin, of our story. I sat there, with my black veil and my hands folded in my lap, and I kept thinking, dear God, what did I do wrong? Did I love too much? Did I make it too easy? Did I trust too fully? Or maybe he never felt for us what we felt for him. Days later, he posted a picture with his fiancée,
smiling.
The two of them at an expensive restaurant. The caption read, "Celebrating love with the one who's always been there for me." The one who's always been there for me. As if we never existed. As if the father who stayed up late teaching him to ride a bike was no one. When I saw that picture, that's when I died a second time. Because I realized he had already buried us. A long time ago. He just hadn't said it out loud. Then came the wedding. I heard about it from someone else. A friend from our old church called. "Gloria, congratulations. Your son's getting married. Did you get the invitation yet?" My chest froze. I didn't know anything about it. I wasn't invited. Wasn't even told. I gathered the courage and sent him a message. "I heard you're getting married. I'm happy for you. I hope I can be there." Hours later, he replied, "Mama, look, I just wanted to spare you any awkwardness. It's going to be a small ceremony and well, a lot of people wouldn't understand." I read that message at least 10 times. Spare you any awkwardness. A lot of people wouldn't understand. What exactly wouldn't they understand? That he was raised by a black woman? That his mother's face is marked by time and struggle? That he came from a humble home, a home of faith? What was he trying so hard to hide? On the day of the wedding, I got dressed. Put on the blue dress Henry always said looked lovely on me. Did my hair. Put on perfume. I sat here, on this porch, listening to the birds, feeling the breeze, watching the gate, as if, at the last moment, he'd show up, as if he'd remember that I exist. But he didn't come. I spent the entire day here, clothes pressed, heart in pieces, with a void so big, it felt like it swallowed the whole world around me. Later that night, I saw the photos, his smile, the bride's family embracing him, a man fulfilled, a man happy. And as painful as it is to say, I saw a man who no longer recognizes me as part of his story. He didn't bury me in a grave, but that day he erased me. And when people ask why I still call him my son, I answer, because I don't love for the reward. I love because I choose to, and I chose him from the trash. Through the pain, through the struggle, in life. Even when he cut me out of the picture, even when he left me off the guest list, even when he turned me into the past. The house felt bigger after Henry was gone. Not because it's actually big, it's simple. 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen, and this porch where I now sit almost all day. But the silence makes everything feel larger. Before, even when my husband was sick, there was the sound of the kettle, the shuffle of sandals on the floor, his cough asking for coffee. Now, just the birds, the ticking of the clock on the wall, and the sound of my own breathing. Sometimes I find myself talking to no one,
complaining to the pot that burned the rice,
smiling at old photos, answering voices that loneliness invents. After my son's wedding, something in me went quiet. It's not anger. It's not hate. It's exhaustion. Exhaustion from justifying my pain. Exhaustion from trying to understand why I was erased. Exhaustion from waiting for something that may never come. The neighbors still greet me with kindness. Some ask about him. I say, he's good, working, traveling, and I change the subject because it's easier to lie with a smile than explain with tears. But inside, every corner of this house holds a memory. The wall in the living room still has sticker marks he left behind. The corner of the table still has the scratch from his toy car. The closet still holds his first school notebook, with crooked letters and the proud sentence, "My mom's name is Gloria." Sometimes I open that notebook and run my fingers across the words, as if I could go back in time, as if that statement still rang true. On Sundays, I still cook lunch for two. Rice, beans, roasted chicken, and tomato salad just how he liked it. Then I sit at the table and eat slowly, as if sharing the meal with a ghost. His room is still untouched, not from neglect, but out of respect. Respect for what we once were. Some days, I go in there just to sit on the edge of the bed. I close my eyes and remember the little boy who would lay there, with scraped knees and say, "Mommy," rub my back until I fall asleep. And I would, for hours if needed. Now, I rub the memories, because that's all I have left. But no matter how heavy the loneliness gets, I won't give in. I won't let this abandonment define me. I still wake up early, open the windows, make coffee, read a verse from the Bible, and I talk to God. I say, "I don't understand, Lord, but I accept." Because faith is what holds me together. It's what keeps me standing. I plant flowers in the garden, take care of Henry's orchids, paint my nails sometimes, even if no one's around to see. And I write. I write letters I never send, notes with no name on them, confessions I hide in the last drawer of my dresser. The other day I wrote, "My son, you don't have to call me Mom, but you need to remember who called you son when no one else would. I'm still alive, and as long as I'm alive, I will keep going through the silence, through the pain, through the memories that hurt more than the present, because the love I gave was real. And what's real doesn't disappear. It may be forgotten, denied, erased from the pictures, but it still exists, right here, inside my chest, in the memory of sleepless nights, in the strength of the choices I made, in the quiet sacrifice no one ever saw, but God did. I'm not a saint. There were times I wished I could disappear. I've thought about selling this house and moving somewhere no one knows me. I've wanted to scream in his face everything I've held in for years. But then, I take a deep breath, close my eyes, and I remember that baby, wrapped in a blanket, shivering, eyes full of fear. And I understand. The mother in me still exists. Even wounded, even forgotten, even alone. The mother in me doesn't die, because she was shaped through pain, but also through grace. And even if the world says I'm nothing, even if my own son treats me like a memory, I'm still present. Present in faith, in care, in quiet resilience. And maybe one day, when he's older, when he looks back and finds no one there, maybe then he'll remember the woman who pulled him from the trash, who changed his diapers, who held his hand in the dark, who called him son, even while being treated like nothing. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe he won't. But if he does, he'll find the door open and an empty chair waiting next to mine. Because a mother's love doesn't hold grudges. It holds space. I've thought about blaming others. Blaming the woman who suddenly appeared, claiming to be his mother after 30 years gone. Blaming that beautiful, poised blonde woman he married, The one who always wore heels and a restrained smile, who maybe never wanted me around. Blaming the good job, the comfortable life, the rich neighborhood, the new friends, the dinners in places I've never been. We always try to find someone to blame, don't we? I think every mother, at some point, tries to find a reason. One that isn't her child. Because admitting that it was his choice, that he turned his back on his own, that hurts in a place we don't even know how to name. But over time, with the silence, with the prayers I whispered, not knowing if anyone was listening, I understood. The choice was his. And me, I have to accept it. With pain, yes, because it does hurt, but without bitterness. We raise our children for the world. We teach what we can. We give all we have. We shape their character, feed their bodies and their souls. But once they grow,
They go.
and we no longer have control. All we can do is hope that their conscience goes with them, light or heavy, but present. As for him, I don't know what weight he carries. If he carries any at all, maybe he sleeps peacefully. Maybe he wakes up in the middle of the night thinking of me. Maybe he thinks about writing, calling, showing up. Maybe he thinks nothing at all. And me, I'm still here, with the certainty that I did my part, that I loved with everything I had, my body, my soul, my story, that I held on as long as I could, and that even without applause, I was faithful. If one day God allows it, if he knocks on my door, like he used to when he was a little boy coming back after some mischief, if he looks me in the eyes and says, "I'm sorry, Mom," I'll say, "It's okay, son. Come in." And I'll die in peace. Because I don't want to leave this world with resentment in my heart. I want to go knowing I gave love, even if it never came back. Not yet. But today, I'm not telling this story for him. I'm telling it for me. And for you, you who are listening. You who might be feeling alone too. You who loved a son, a daughter, a sibling, a parent, and were forgotten. You who carry in your chest the pain of being ignored by the one you cared for most. I want you to know you are not alone. You're not the only one. There are so many people out there loving in silence, suffering quietly, crying in the bathroom, wondering if they did everything right. I don't have all the answers. All I have is my story. But if it touched you in some way, if you felt that someone somewhere in this world has gone through something similar, then please share this. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Like it.
Comment. Tell me yours.
We grow stronger when we listen to each other. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one.
Stories about life, about pain,
About love, and about overcoming. Because as long as there's someone to listen, as long as there's someone willing to speak, we are not alone. And if one day you forget that, come back here, sit with me on this porch, and listen again. You did your part, and God
God saw it.